Right.
Yeah.
So we have none other than Diana Chechi. She is indeed an asset for us, and she is a beautiful, beautiful Diana Chechi out here. So basically, Diana Chechi is a very creative artist, social activist, founder and director of Project Venda, that is Say No to Drugs, and managing trustee of Fourth Wave Foundation. Now, I'll tell you what is Fourth Wave Foundation in very short. Oh my God, I think my laptop is not working. Can you see my screen still?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Okay, all right. Okay. So yes, what is Fourth Wave Foundation? Basically, Fourth Wave Foundation is all about positive social change and individual improvement. They aim to conquer many social issues through prevention strategies. So one of the most popular project is Project Venda, Say No to Drugs. So Diana Gigi is a founder and director of Project Venda, Say No to Drugs, which works on drug counseling because of widespread use of drugs. In 2019, she was selected as one of the 50 most influential people of Kerala Insider. All right, so she is the managing trustee of Fourth Wave Foundation with over 10 years of experience working with international organizations like UNESCO. Venda was featured as a best practice case in the guide for civil societies at the ministerial segment of United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime in March 2019. In addition, she has been actively campaigning a course of inclusion with special focus on children with special needs, issues of right to education and child rights. She is a researcher by interest and passion. She has also co-authored several papers and journals which have been presented at international forums. Okay, so she is indeed a globally recognized person. I'm very happy to welcome you, Chechi. A very warm welcome, Dana Chechi. Nancy, the floor is all yours, please. Nancy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. That was a very generous introduction. Somebody did a lot of research to get that information. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. So the order of the day, do I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I need to even share a slide while I speak so you don't get bored looking at my face. I'll just try and get that loaded. Visible?
Yes, Gigi.
Yes.
Hold on. What mode is it? Okay. Can you see now? Can you see now? Is it visible?
No.
The shared windows. Okay, hold on, no, please. Can you see now?
No, not yet.
Hold on.
We could see it a while ago.
What's happening? Now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Yes.
So I understand what we have like 100 odd children signed in today.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll be only able to accommodate 100. That is why we only have 100.
Oh, okay. I wish many more could join because coming together, youngsters coming together is very important, and I really advocate that. Okay, so if I understand there is an age group between 12 and 19 that is technically 20 years old, and people beyond that are organizers, I hope. Okay, that's a big bracket of teenagers to deal with. What I talk to a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old or a 19-year-old will all be different in magnitude and the way you all take it. But I'm hoping, in the interest of what I've asked to be conveying today, that you all will take it in the perspective that your lifestyle or your situations are in today. Okay. Having said that, I also want to talk to the parents who are signed up with the kids today. I understand that there might be people who are overseeing you because you're online and part of something very important. To the parents, I just want to say that everything that we discussed here is from a very child-centric point of view, and it's basically meant for kids. And I don't want you all to be taking back anything that is not of a lifestyle that you all propagate, or if we discuss things that are not within your family boundaries, I ask your pardon right up front. And also a little message to the organizers who are managing and managing and monitoring these teams. I request you to not even stand at a high moral ground while I'm delivering this, because high moral ground in the religious outlook might not do us any benefit in the next half an hour of what we talk. We need to look at children as children. And I know youngsters don't like to be called as children anymore, because you all are equally as big as your dad and mom in size now, and you think you can even win over the thought lines of the Mandelas or the large leaders of the world today. So I'm just going to call you as young adults. Is that okay? Having said that, what we are doing next is basically going to speak to you about the right to choose versus the duty to choose rightly. I'm hoping you'll take a bit to sink that in. There is a great difference between the right that's given to you to make a choice and also the duty that you hold to yourself as a person, as a being, as a soul, as a spiritual entity, to choose rightly. And what we say to youngsters today is that there is great value in what you do during the growing years that will form you as a person or a personality in the time to come or the future of your life. And this critical teenage time is very important for youngsters to orient to a lifestyle that will form your personality or your choices for life. And it is also said by Malcolm Glenville that, if you invest over 10,000 hours on anything that you like to do, or investment of 10,000 hours in anything you want to excel at, will show results after the 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours means what to you as a youngster? It typically is 1.5 years if you put all the hours together. You can actually choose to split it over 2 years or 5 years or 10 years and make it a project that you really want. So if you're going to spend on music or art or theater or I don't know what else y'all do as youngsters, but if y'all choose to do something, learn the guitar, learn an organ, anything that y'all choose as an extra activity other than your studies, in 10,000 hours, you're going to become a master at it. Same is the condition when you invest it in anything that is illicit, illegal, or that is not healthy, or it's not a responsible choice as a youngster. You're going to get into that so intrinsically deep. It will become your character and form your personality. So it's very wise as youngsters to understand that this timeline of between 12 and 19 or 20 years, and whatever you do, whatever you invest your time in, whatever you plan to engage in, will form a lot of you for the later life. So 10,000 hours is my first crowd today. The next is what I really want to do with you for the next half an hour. The next half an hour, I'm going to actually speak to you as youngsters who know your body, who know the bodily changes that's happening to you, the way the mind works, the way your hormones pump, the kind of things that you all engage in, what is interesting at this age, and why things the way it works. And also I will lead you in this half an hour to the science of addiction, or the science that leads you or hooks you onto something and keeps you there, that traps you there. And also, if you are in it, what we do to get out of it. And the last bit of my 5 minutes will be technically to tell you the church stand or the Catholic view on what we are going to discuss for the half an hour. And while I am going to talk to you in the half an hour, I have a certain mandate from the team that's given to me to discuss to you about addictions, habit formations, pornography in specific, because a lot of you all are online these days. All of you all are engaging your learning and schooling via your networks and online platforms. And there is a great tendency or an inherent dependency on the online systems to get your lives going as well. Not only the learning, but the other parts of your engagement, social engagement, meeting friends, talking to friends online, engaging in content that is not healthy during this time, because it is right there in front of you. So while I get into that, I ask all of you, how many of you all here, 100 of you, to just give me a minute and close your eyes and imagine what I'm going to say to you now, okay? It's like a little exercise for you all. I want you to close your eyes and imagine you playing in a field or coming down the stairs or something that is rushed as an activity. Imagine you either playing football or in a field or coming down the stairs. You're in a brisk moment activity. Having seen yourself in that space, imagine that you have a fall. You immediately fall. You can open your eyes now. You can open your eyes. And knowing that you have fallen, I want each of you to lift your left hand up, and fold it at your elbow like this. Fold it up like this. You see me? Look at your elbow here, and imagine that you have a wound. You've hurt yourself. Look at that. Imagine there is a wound there. You've hurt yourself. It's bleeding and it hurts. How are you going to react? Some of you will run for help. Some of you will just dust it off. Oh, it's not big enough, I can manage. Some of you will make a big scene out of it. Some of you have not seen blood faint. So various reactions to one incident, yes or no? Now all of you have a wound on your hand, and each of you are going to respond differently to it. I want you to hold this wound on your hand for the next half an hour of my discussion. Okay, don't hold your hand, but hold it in your mind. Okay, while you hold it in your mind, and while you're all, each of you, if you all react differently to this situation, each of you must react differently. Either you go for first aid, you wash your hand, you go to your mom, or you cry, or some people, oh, it's just a wound, I'm just going on with it. While you all react differently to it, the body has only one reaction to it. Somebody who wants to answer, unmute and answer. What is your body going to do to that wound? Somebody wants to unmute and tell me?
Our body is just
sending the platelets and
healing, adapt.
Okay. So your body is going, exactly. Your WBC cells are going to rush to the wound. It is going to form a coating or a layer of white blood cells to defend your body from that wound and stop from bleeding. Yes or no? The science in your school is clear. You've also fallen a couple of times. All of you know what happens. The body has only one mechanism. All of us react to it differently, but the body has only one mechanism, and it says defend the body, save the body, save the body. That's all it has to do. Now, this is the image I want you to hold in mind while I'm going to talk to you for the next 20 minutes on the subject of the way the brain works, subject of addiction, on choices of pornography or illicit content or drug addiction. While I speak to you on all these subjects, I want you to have the image of the wound and the body working to defend your wound. Okay? Is that clear? Is that simple for you all? Okay.
Yes.
Now, these are the couple of things your body needs to survive. Yes or no? You need food and you need water. Now, don't tell me air. If you don't have air in your body, you're not alive. Okay? So, air is not what you ingest specifically to stay or keep your body functional. If there is no breath in you, you're gone. So, we're talking about basic food. There's water. These are for the body, and in the mind, which is like the largest organ in your body. One of the biggest organs in your body is your brain. in your brain is also a set of activities that happen, pumped by a lot of things that you all do through the day. And that's run by a set of hormones. That is basically dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, a whole lot of activities also happening there, like your digestion and like your ingestion of food and water. There's a lot of activities happening in the brain as well. And I'm going to touch on only just one of them. Like a zillion things happen in that magnificent space of the body. I'm just going to take one item and show you how it actually is so important for you to take care of yourself. Dopamine in the body or in the brain is what keeps you going. You get up in the morning. If you have to go to school, get up and wash and brush and get your activities together. You need dopamine to pump in your body. Okay, without that, it's not easy. And that's what gives you motivation to thrive and to go on. Do you get it? It's basically the body's mechanism to help you, protect you, make you survive and thrive in any situation. Like your reaction to the wound, dopamine does a set of things to make you able-bodied people. Okay? And on a normal day, you need 50 nanograms per deciliter. That's like really like a little drop in an ocean. Okay? You just need that much for a normal day. You will eat, you will play, you will have friends, you will study. All of that happens with just this much in your body. On a very good day, okay? You've had the best day, you had the best friend talk, you've gone to school, you had fun, you played football, or you've done something important, you've gone from your music class, you've had time with your parents, and you've met your girlfriend, and you've had good food. The body goes up to 94% by producing dopamine. Okay, that's like a really good day. Do you get what I'm saying? On a very good day, your body is producing 94%. All this is because of the input you had from the external world for yourself. On the best day, the maximum the body can give you is 100. It's the best day. If I were to say you've had the best day ever in your life, your body is giving you 100% of dopamine. If you engage in a sexual activity, it is less than the best day you've had. Do you understand? So, this is what I'm trying to say is activity in sex or the sexual arousal is just like your food or your water. It is just 92%. It's not 100%. The body doesn't produce 100% dopamine for you to get to that level of happiness. If you think that is what you need at this age, the growing age, you're exploring yourself, 92% is all your body is giving, because that's all it needs to go through. On a bad day, on a very bad day, what does it look like? On a very bad day, your body is, even without you doing anything, just sitting in front of the TV and eating chips, or just sitting in the house and feeling bad and sulking over a bad day and making all this sad dramas in the house, your body is still giving you 40% to keep you going. Like you breathe your air, like you eat your food, and the body is doing stuff. The body is also in the brain giving you enough to survive. That's just dopamine. Look at the other chemicals in place. Now, what are you going to do as a youngster? Somebody's coming to you and saying, oh, it's cool to do a little bit of hash, it's a little bit of marijuana, a little bit of cocaine. Let's smoke, or let's have some alcohol. Let's do some tobacco, or let's watch pornography. Somebody's sending you all the links. The coolest guy in the class is the one who's passing this around to you. And you think it's good to be cool, and you get onto these platforms. What does your body do? The body is reacting to what you're doing. And what does it do? What does it do inside the body and the mind and the brain? It produces 10 times more dopamine than your body actually needs on a very best day. That's like a big surge of dopamine. Suddenly it's like a bulb glowing in your head. That's too much for the body to digest or the brain to make any reference with. This is how it looks. This is your normal brain. Can you see the extreme left where it is just glowing? And that's a very good day, a normal brain, beautifully working, happy in its space. And in the center is all the hedonic spots. So if you're a happy individual, engaged in everything, eating good food, having fun at home, your brain is always lit up like a nice Christmas tree. It's very, very well balanced and lit up like a Christmas tree. But what you see in the last extreme right is a brain that's fired up. It's like a short circuit in the brain when you're doing an activity that is illicit. An illicit activity will cause such a surge of stuff in your mind that it's kind of short circuits. Are you all understanding what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? There's a short circuit in your brain. What happens? Have you seen a short circuit when you're putting up your Christmas tree or trying to light a bulb or in your chemistry lab? Have you seen how you can short two wires and what happens?
Everything shuts down.
Yeah, there's like a fire up and there's a little smoky kind of a feeling and then nothing happens. Suddenly everything seems to shut down. Similar is the activity in your brain. When you ingest something that is more than what is required, the defense mechanism of the body, like it's doing to protect your wound, will suddenly kick in place. Survival mode happens in the brain and the body, and it just fires up and starts shutting down. On a normal day, you need just 100. Can you see this graph? 100 on a very best day. On a normal day, you have 50. And what you're doing with activities like this is you're getting yourself to a stage where you're artificially pumping your body, your mind, and your brain to 1,000, 100 and odd. And depends on the substance you use or the kind of illicit content you watch on the pornographic spaces. This goes in measures that is not controlled or able to be controlled by the brain, especially by a growing brain. You're growing till the age of 22. The human brain is actually growing to the age of 22. Right now, what's happening in the teenage brain is that your prefrontal cortex is getting shaped. That means you can't make great judgments. Your mother will tell you, don't play in the rain because you have to go for an exam next week. But you'll anyway go and play, you'll land a fever. That thing that your mom or dad has is yet not formed. You're still more by your impulse and you're going more by your thrill. So the next slide is a little bit of what a normal brain does on the left and what's happening to the brain that is ingested with content and which is ingested with substance. On the normal brain, you see how nice and glowy it is. This is what's happening in the brain. Two neurons are there. One is sending all these receptors. The other one is accepting it. And then you feel what you are doing. You're eating a good ice cream. Somebody said, don't share ice creams. You're not allowed to share ice cream on screen. I can understand because it creates a response in you. And what happens is that is happening because the brain has understood through images, through memory, through taste that ice cream is good. And this is the simple, beautiful thing that's happening in your brain, that something is sending a message, something is receiving it and making you realize that this is real. Now what's happening on the right side of my screen? That's a fired up brain. That's a brain that's going into short circuit because somebody is sitting and watching illicit content. Somebody is ingesting a drug or trying, or even thinking of it, it can create this. And on the right side is down. These two receptors is a typical state where the dopamine is produced. The drug or the content that you're viewing is creating a lot of oxytocin and dopamine in the body. And down is this receptor who's cut off because your body is going into survival mode. It's cutting off your joy cells. Things that you can actually experience, the body is going to cut off and protect. Like your wound, it's going to protect you and say, no, this is a no space to go. You don't need it at this point in life, in this age, you don't need it. And that's what is happening in the brain. And what happens if you have taken one glass of alcohol today or you had a cigarette today, in 2 days when you try it, it's not going to give you the same kick. So there are people who say, oh, my capacity has increased. It's not that the capacity has increased. Your body is cutting down your joy cells so that it's protecting you. And what you think is, I can now drink more and have more pleasure. The truth is, it's going to keep cutting down, and you will increase the capacity of the porn that you're watching, the time of the porn that you're watching, all that indulgences will increase, and your capacity to enjoy it will decrease. That's because the body is kicking into survival mode. This is a simple example of what happens on long-term hooking on to things that are not healthy for the human body. on the extreme top is a normally functioning, wonderful brain, happy brain with 50% dopamine and oxytocin and all kicking. Middle is a brain that's trying things, it's firing up, it's cannot understand in the balance of things what's going to happen, how should I protect this body, how should I, kick it into defense mechanism, all of that is happening in the middle. And the last one is a fried up brain. All your neurons, your cells are frying up. They have no grip of what's happening. In the essence of protecting your body, you will start, the brain will start doing this, but the human mind and the human need and the craving will ask you to take more and more and more. So addiction basically is the defense mechanism of the body that's kicking in to protect somebody who is not making the right choice. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I were to tell you in comparison what happens in the brain when if I didn't give you water for a few days and then I showed you a glass of water, your brain will light up inside the head like a little baseball. There'll be, and this is in comparison to the lighting up of the brain. If I didn't give you food for a couple of days and then I showed you some images of food, or I let you smell something that's tasty, then the brain is actually going to light up like a basketball, because it's all things that you need to survive. Yeah, that's in relative size in relation to the lights that I'm talking. It's not really that your head is actually the size of a basketball, but in relation it's like that. And if you were on anything that is illicit, that is not healthy during your growing years, if I were to deprive you of it, like your parents said, no more engaging on online conversations, or no going and checking the internet and YouTube, and you're deprived of it, and then we tell you about something that friends are doing on social media, your brain will fire up like an entire stadium. That means your need is so much, your brain has learned and enjoyed it so much, it doesn't know what to do, it loses its control. Basically, what happens to people who engage in all these activities is a loss of a whole lot of combination of beautiful activities that keep you in balance. You can't plan, you can't pay attention in class, you can't make even judgments that are healthy for you. You can't even remember a whole lot of things that has happened. You can't prioritize. Should I take bath first, or should I now go and clean up my room? You can't prioritize things. You don't have self-control. Like if you're watching porn, you started it in your bedroom, then you're now sitting in public places, you're sitting in the bus stop, you're sitting in the school bathroom. It will lead you there. You can't exercise self-control. You always are in anticipation. You're like, when is my next fix? When is my next fix? When can I go and sit in my private room and do what I want? And you can't even organize your life. You can't imagine when to study, when to eat, when to play, when to have friends, when to go to church. All of that just sort of starts to break down. You can't control your impulses. You're angry, you're emotional, you can cry, all of that. These are all visible signs of brains that are sort of hooking on to things that are more than the normal required things. You can't, you don't have a possibility to even think of a goal. I told you about the 10,000 hours. If you start now, by the time you're 18, 19, you actually have a talent besides all the certificates in the class, in the class 12 that you've passed. You have a talent with you. You can actually go and create a table or a chair, or build a bulb, or you can, play music, or you can sing. Things like that will happen if you invest that time instead of doing things like this. Finally, you also will not be able to foresee the consequences. That gets blinded in a growing brain when you do activities that are overpowering your emotional space. Having said that, I'm not going into the kinds of stuff that happens online and the kind of games that you all play, the kind of content that's up there. You'll know more than me. You'll actually have more information than somebody like me. But what I want to here highlight is what it leads you into. It leads you into abuse. You will come to a space where you don't know you're abusing yourself or your friends or your peers or your classmates. You'll start misusing it. Your friendship whom you had with I know of young girls and boys who now say, I can't even look at my friend she was my good friend all of last year, but after all these activities started, I can't look at her decently. Because you start misusing your relationships to the point that you really don't know. In extreme cases of addiction, you don't know who's your sister, your brother, your father, your family, and things like that. mostly you'll land up in traps just because you want that kick and high and feel good and somebody is responding and feeling nice. You get into this trap, and this trap of being used by somebody. The last of all is you'll become naive to sexual predators. There are people who are just sitting out there to find youngsters who are vulnerable and get you trapped into this. So this is the reality. While you do all of it, nobody stops you. You know, to moderate, it's fine. But when you get to this point, it's dangerous. So I hope you understood what the brain does and why addiction is called like a chronic disease. Okay, it's like a chronic disease. You can treat it, you can come out of it, you can slowly get yourself out of it. But the best thing to do is not go there at all, because the coming back is very painful. Because you were not meant to be there. You're meant to enjoy everything in its beauty, in its balance, in its sanctity. And actually chew it up badly, it's very difficult to return to a normal space. Do all of you get it? Do you understand what your brain does to you? So the best thing to do is to stay away. Okay, staying away is more beneficial than getting into it or trying it. But everything around you, like the movies, the music, the kind of friends you have, the peers you have, those sort of influence you in making you think that these are cool. Actually, they aren't very cool. It's just that it takes a little, risk to do it. But taking risks is not being cool. It's just being stupid. It's just being stupid, and youngsters need to understand that. And really, because the coming back journey which we work with, which I do at Venda and a whole lot of my people are struggling with, is the coming back journey. Coming back is terribly painful. The best is to stay away. And simply, if you understand why your body protects you, I think like any young, average thinking youngster will say, "Arre, now since whatever I try, my body is going to protect me, it's better to go with the body that actually has an intention to keep me safe." That doesn't stop you from fun at all. The fun, when I'm saying all this, it shouldn't look like you're not allowed to play or have fun or have friends who are boys and girls and interact. No, nobody is saying all that. These are essential for healthy, growing young adults. But you need to know what your limits are, where your boundaries stand. I hope you get it. Now I'll spend the next 2 minutes and sort of tell you why, since it is a Catholic platform and I know the JY are organizing it, I'll take this opportunity to tell you why the church says no to it. As youngsters and as people who are in the faith, who want to lead a lifestyle that is filled with the Holy Spirit and want to be led by the Spirit, you should know that there are things that the church says no to. And when the church says no to something, it's not because it is sin or bad. Do you get it? It's not because the church wants to kill your joy or you, live like a saint or like a priest or a nun. It's not the idea. That's not the idea. The church wants you to understand that when the church says no to something, it is actually upholding life. Doing something sacred. It is trying to keep life safe in all forms. Now you're saying abortion is not, the right thing to do. Why? Because we are upholding life. The life in the womb cannot speak for itself, and we have a right as individuals to save that child who can't even say "don't kill me." Similar is in the area of pornography. Why is the church talking about pornography? What does it know about it? It calls itself abstinence. It keeps away from things like this and sex. What do they know about it? They know a lot about it. Because the very act of sex is meant for procreation and it's meant to keep the human race going. Perversion at any level is understood by the church. But what it's trying to tell everybody is that it is absolutely not upholding the intrinsic value, worth of life at all. And how is it saying? Particularly for youngsters, I'll try and explain it in 3 points. One is it offends the dignity of all human beings. What you see on screen, what you are introduced to as porn, or what you are introduced to as sex is practically not what happens in family life. One day you should just get your dad and mom to sit down and talk to them freely and ask them, what happens, and young parents are very understanding and they can make their own beautiful ways of talking to their family in their own style. Instead of you hunting for it somewhere, and what you get as content when you see first is a lot of abuse, a lot of pain, a lot of dehumanizing, and especially the woman gets objectified. In all that you see at a in the porn sites, the woman is being objectified. Like she's being hurt, she's been used, she's been posed, and it's all the same act, but they make it, you know, very difficult for young minds to digest, and that's why it really doesn't uphold the human dignity of life. If you talk to, I've you know, worked with people who've been abused and who've been in the industry, and I realized that no way did they want to do things like that. Who wants to make money like that? They say, okay, they are doing it freely, they are on screen, they have accepted it finally. No, it's not. There's a whole industry that survives on it. Next is the withdrawal from reality. What you see is not real. What you are viewing and the content that you're trying to digest is absolutely not real. So what happens when a young boy who has been seeing porn for 5 years of his teenage life gets into adulthood and actually is now in a space where he can she's not able to do anything perfectly right with the person that they're getting, because one, what they saw on screen is different from what they're seeing in the person. Two, they think that what they've seen is what the act of sex is, without love. It's devoid of love, and that leads to a lot of complications. So it really actually pulls you away from reality, and when you're really in the time and ready for it, you don't know what to do about it. Third is, there is something called genuine love. It's what families are. They fight and they make up and they cry and the whole lot of things that happen, and that love is replaced with just a lot of activity like this, and that's not what it is. And it's actually a perverted fantasy to be living a very fully sexual life like that all the time. So you understand, the church in its essence is trying to uphold the dignity of life. Two, as youngsters, you should also really understand that this industry, if you are now looking for porn, you get 100 things. Sex, you get 100 options. But if you're looking for more concrete, or Malayali, or a Indonesian, or a Chinese, or a Taiwanese, like that, if you put a search, you should understand that for every search, or every 100 searches, there's one child who's becoming a victim. There is one sister or a brother who is being filmed in the bathroom without knowledge, and it's going. So there is a wild, dirty industry that survives on it, and my youngsters don't need to know the details. You just need to know that it is not the right thing to do at this point in time and in this age. When you get to adulthood, it's a different debate, and that's for your adults to handle. But for my youngsters today, you should just know that there are things to do a healthy sexual life, and that is to look at your peers as good friends and good partners, cherish good relationships, have nice conversations, go out together, play together, go to the movies, and that brings healthy relationships. And if your parents are lovely parents who understand healthy relationships, they should be present with you young adults when you all go out and facilitate this interaction, and not become people who shut you away from. So sensitize your parents through your need, and your parents also will understand. There are 3 ways of handling. If now youngsters are into the problem, you're secretly doing it, you think it's your private business, nobody needs to know about it and all of that, you're being very wrong. You're being very wrong, because it's a public problem. You will become a public nuisance. It's like drinking alcohol and saying, I'm drinking in my house, I'm not a problem. At some point, you are going to be a problem in your house, because you have brothers, sisters, your father, mother in a home space. Now you're going out with friends, you're drinking, you have a friend or a girlfriend or somebody in the space who's going to interact with you. You're just not going to sit down and keep drinking. Now, if you're in a public space and you're driving, absolutely no, you're a social nuisance at all. You will become a public hazard for everybody. You understand? So the more you say, in the same with the sexual thing. If you're watching pornography in the privacy of bedrooms, you think, oh, it's not a bother to anybody. But the moment you step out, there is an aura around you. That's the way you behave. Your mind is full of it. That whatever you do after sort of reflects. In your relationship, it reflects in your talking, in your behavior, in your thinking. And finally, even with good friendships that you've built, you're not able to manage it. So what you have to do in this situation is, one is what I'm doing with you today. You're going to inform yourself what actually happens in the body, why you react the way you react, why youngsters are so beautiful at this age, and inform yourself and make right, conscious choices and decisions. Next, the other 2, I am not with you to do it. You will have to do it yourself as a little exercise. Or you find help through people. If you're deeply into the problem, you really need to see a professional, somebody who can help you out, not somebody who can pray and get you out of it. Prayer is part of the journey. You need good elders, good parents, good guides to help you come out of it. But serious addiction needs help. And the earlier you get it, the faster you come out of it. The more you deny, the more problematic it becomes. I hope I'm being very clear to you all, okay? People won't tell you all this, but I'm taking the opportunity to tell you because I'm not afraid. I work with youngsters, I see the problem. So what do you do in your own private spaces? Find perspective. You need to find a perspective to the problem. If you're actually in the habit or somebody is actually pushing you into the habit of getting into these things, you have to start pushing back. You have to lay those boundaries. You have to make amends and you have to get a perspective on what you need to do out of that thing. So if you have a tendency to go and watch porn, you need to make it very clear to yourself, that's not what I'm going to switch to play football, or I'm going to go sit and learn music, or I will read a book. These are all difficult. It's a fight, but it becomes a habit. Healthy habits are formed only on persistent behavior. So you need to find a perspective, and especially a perspective for long-term life goals. And that also is possible in the kind of circles that you are on now. You all are in very healthy backgrounds. And luckily, you're children who are going to be safely going through teenage. And we just want you to make clear that y'all don't fall into these spaces. The next is you need to value yourself. That is something we are not taught, we don't feel, and we don't know anything about ourselves. Not enough is done with youngsters to tell them that they are really valuable people, that all of your lives are very important. There is a specific role for you to play. I didn't know it when I was a teenager. I didn't know that I will be called to do anything related to young children or teens or addiction. I didn't know where my life was going. Nobody even mentioned it or made it clear. But I think the Lord is our guide. The Holy Spirit is the prompter in your heart. When you do something wrong, there's a little voice that said, don't go there, don't go there. The more you ignore it, the more it gets quieter. But that voice is something that you should learn to cherish, because that's the one that keeps telling you you're valuable, you're made in the image and likeness of God. You're special to this world. You have a role to play. So you learn to listen to that voice. If your parents are not, or your family is not in a, all families are different. If they're not in a way of encouraging your speciality or your value, you have to find it within yourselves. And I think for anybody who values himself, affirmation comes from around. God makes it a point to send somebody to say, oh, you're beautiful, oh, you're lovely, oh, you're good, you're so talented, you're so loving, you're so patient. Some way somebody will come and tell you. It's God's ways of telling you that you're special. And he's so loyal to that, because each of us are wonderfully made for him, and he has a plan. So you need to train yourself and think about it and make those choices. These two things are not with me, okay? All I'm doing today is informing you. But the other two things, you'll have to do it in your own private time. A good prayer time is good enough to fill these two things. Make it a point. Get up in the morning. You won't put your foot out of the bed till you said your thanks to the Lord, giving the Holy Spirit the control over this body and mind. And then you say, okay, this is what I will do beneficial today. Don't put your foot down from the bed at all. That's enough. That 2-3 minutes in the morning should orient you to a wonderful lifestyle. With this, I'm actually closing. I'm hoping I've answered some questions. I've tried to, give you some perspective on what you should do as youngsters. I've given you the science of why the body works the way it is during this stage.